Hello everyone, my name is Umesh and today's guest is Ms. Shubha Joshi. She is going to give an overview of National Education Policy which was recently proposed. Shubha Joshi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So your first thoughts on National Education Policy?
Well, it's a good move as of now, though it has lots of implementation challenges. But it's definitely a good move by the government, especially it's coming after a long time. The last one, it was in 86. So it's coming after a long time, and it has a lot of most wanted changes that needs to be brought in, especially considering global challenges that was revealed by COVID-19. However, there are challenges. So the government, the Ministry of Education is seeking support from schools and teachers, and they're organizing very many events to gather data. The process is on. Only today, I think they declared a competition for teachers to propose changes in different themes in different areas. And they're going to select top 10 teachers from across the country, and they're going to probably gather the raw data, the realistic day-to-day life data, and hopefully the implementation schedule starts anywhere from next year, from teacher training development to 2030, 10 years from now, when it goes on till higher education and the research and all of those possibilities. So it's a good move, though filled with challenges.
Okay. My first question is the medium of instruction. There is a confusion with respect to the mother tongue. So, is parents who are getting the transferable job, how would you comment on that?
I don't think there is anywhere saying the medium of instruction has to be the state language. They say that it's open, the medium of instruction, it's a 3-language policy. So I would recommend, if at all, it's not implemented yet, it's not enforced anywhere, but if at all they consider that English could be the medium, but with your vernacular touch to it.
Okay.
That is what most schools are doing now anyway, because the reality of the situation is teachers are not adept in their local language either. And we don't have books in local languages like math and science. How are you going to translate? It's a huge challenge when it comes to implementation, because you want to translate everything. They're saying language implementation till grade 5 going up to grade 8. But if it is going to come with English blended with my vernacular language, that's what would be most acceptable for everybody. The 3-language policy, the issue came up when initially it was proposed that Hindi should be one of the languages, for sure, national language. That's when the states started opposing it. But now they have not made that a mandatory thing. So it's a state language, it's English, and it could be Sanskrit or Hindi or anything like the way it is now. Medium of instruction can be in English along with Kannada, for example, in Karnataka. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay. And I think that's what we need to pitch in, we as teachers and schools and education bodies. We propose that could be considered, and it could not be imposed to ensure that it is happening in Kannada only, because then it's a disaster. If it happens, because there are Kannada medium schools which parents are not opting. And we are talking about getting children ready for 21st century without language skills. We see many of them who went through Kannada medium schools having lower self-esteem because English is kind of hyped up. And the same thing is going to continue.
Okay.
One other challenge they have is, they are saying introduce coding in grade 6. And if you don't know English, how are you going to develop that language? Because coding then becomes more something to do with the language as well, because it's not like hardcore coding anymore. It's more like common sense language that is used. So they may be handicapped over there. So I would recommend blending. That will ease the burden off of the teacher that, okay, English teacher has to speak English, all right, but science teacher also has to speak good English, which is a great challenge that I'm facing individually also working with teachers now. Okay. So blending would be perfect, both for teachers and children as well as parents, and kind of have it as a gradation process where more of English is used as we go to higher grades, and eventually switch and always teach English as a conversational language, so it becomes easy for everyone.
Okay.
So it should not be debated for the sake of debating. we can always find other ways out.
Okay. With respect to vocational training, what exactly vocational training is and how it can be implemented? Because this is first to the new to the schools, right? And for example, if one of the student is very good in carpenting or whatever, instead of quitting the school, he can still continue his schooling as well as carpenting also?
Yeah.
So you are
carpentry, vocational education is one of the aspects. It's not replacing everything.
Okay.
It's one of the things that they want to introduce. And then they want to bring in like 10 days of bagless days, where they want to encourage introducing these children, exposing these children to people of different vocations, which is not present in the present system at all. And then providing them some sort of internship, which I think is very essential. There are also debates and discussions that children will leave out and there will be a wide gap, there is disparity, etc. But I don't think it is proposed that way. It is more like, we used to have it in our school. We used to have one craft period every week in my timetable. So I learned sewing, but I didn't become a tailor.
Okay.
Right? Here it's giving me opportunity to meet with so many people. My father was a driver in railways, and I always had this kind of inferiority complex that he's a driver. So I would never talk about his vocation. So a lot of people, especially you hear about all these people who are called manholes, they go in and lift the dirt. Children of those people are so low in self-esteem. Carpenter's son, they don't want to talk about their father's vocation. But when we bring this into picture, I can build my own furniture at home. I don't have to become a carpenter by profession.
Okay.
But if I pick up an interest in that, there are heavily paid carpenters. It doesn't have to be just a carpentry to fix a shelf and drill a hole and put a nail and stuff like that, right? You could take up that as a profession. What is an interior decorator doing?
Yeah.
He's directing a carpentry. He's not sitting there and meddling with the wood and the saw and all that. So chef, introduce them. It's not like it. In my view, it brings up the dignity of labor. It brings up an option, because if I'm not good in math or science or English or whatever, I don't have to suffer because I don't know the mainstream subjects. I always have something to fall back on, right?
Okay.
And the trend is that way now. We may have finished some elite degrees, but we may be doing something else, but it's out of shame. That I think will be eliminated, and also it will build respect for other professions, especially when you make it mandatory as part of school system, as part of school curriculum. I'm taking these children to a carpenter shop. I would love it as a child.
Okay.
It's so much hands-on, and it is not just carpentry, right? There's physics in it, there's chemistry in it. You can teach history about the wood or the kind of architecture or whatever it is. You can talk about geography. Where did this wood come from? How did I make it? You can talk about so many other processes which CBSE is already implementing, about art integration, subject integration. It's a perfect opportunity for child to be involved, engaged in learning.
Okay, what are the challenges in implementing it? Because the regular teachers cannot teach this.
Yeah, definitely.
So you have to bring in the experts, or you bring in the trained teachers again only on this, or how it is?
Implementation challenges are there again. One is infrastructure. The second is the setup.
Okay.
But if you do a good public school kind of partnership, there is somebody who is already having a carpenter shop. So I need to figure it out in my timetable in a very simplistic way. That I take 10 children, I as a teacher who doesn't know anything about carpentry, I take these children every week to the carpenter shop and allow them to observe to begin with. I'm not allowing them to cut in the very beginning, right? And 10 other children can be taken to a pharmacy, to see what a pharmacist does. And 10 other children can be taken to a potter shop, where they are also feeling good about their profession because everybody is kind of looking down upon them. At the same time, they're catering to these children, and schools need not set. The challenge is again, because we have so much of syllabus to finish, so little time, and school transport, you have to arrange 4 different transports per se to take this set of 10 children to 4 different locations. That's overhead on school with respect to transportation and all of that. That's overhead again on parents to pay fees. And the risk factor when you take children out to these places. So those are the implementation challenges. Okay. I can bring a carpenter to my premise. There's something called as work education in CBSE that's mandated now. So in the school that I am associated with, we bring carpenters on campus. And we ask children to look at different kinds of saw, or how to cut this in a particular way, how to cut this, using your physics principles, where to put pressure so it's easy to cut and things like that. But when you go to higher level, if a child picks up on carpentry and we have to build upon it, then you definitely have to take them to a more sophisticated places as time goes by. We can partner with parents. We can say, okay, do it on weekends. This is the person I've identified. Please take your child over there. Parents do that all the time for dance and music and drama and badminton, etc. They do it.
Yes.
But they don't think of doing it for carpentry and pottery and all of that.
Yes.
It's like resort things. We have pottery, potter guy with his wheel in a resort place, but we don't do it in. As a parent, we don't do it.
Okay.
So I definitely would encourage bringing parents into the picture also.
Okay.
It need not be just the parents, it could be grandparents. For me, big thing right now is taking child back into the family structure, where they respect their grandparents, where they respect the extended family. Because with all of this online 21st century thing, children are losing touch, especially because they're on the social media talking to some remote person rather than somebody who's next to them. So for me, it is very important to bring it back, because this is going to cause a huge problem going forward, because child is not fruitfully engaged in using his organs properly.
Yes.
I cannot even sit on the floor with my legs crossed. So this vocational training, when I have to sit there and hammer, I don't think children know even to hammer a nail. And in these walls, we can't even hammer, even if I want to.
You have to drill it.
So I have to get a professional.
Yes.
How sad is that? We have lost skills, So I think this vocational thing is going to bring back some of the skills to use our organs properly.
Okay.
And when I'm getting those skills, I'm more engaged, I'm more grounded as a human being.
Okay.
When I'm grounded, learning is going to happen more naturally than when I'm floating up because of so many distractions due to social media and my access to internet and stuff like that.
Okay, so coming back to CBSE, you said it has been implemented in parts of CBSE. Which are the subjects it has been implemented?
Which one?
In terms of vocational training?
It's called work education.
Okay.
And it's also called as SUPW, socially useful projects, something like that.
Okay.
Project works, where you do something that is useful to the community.
Okay.
So some of the CBSE has suggested several areas where terrace gardening is one thing, carpentry is one thing. So we have chosen terrace gardening, and children grow their own vegetables and eventually distribute and take it.
So it's in the school or it's at home?
School.
Okay.
We are encouraging parents also to do it at home, since children are doing it at school. Once they get hooked to growing, children start growing on their own at home too.
Okay.
So through children, we are going to parents, and some of the effort is also to bring parents who are already into sustainable agriculture or gardening or something like that. So bring them to kind of lecture to the students as to what they are doing. So it's like a career guidance, you may say. Again, vocational, opening up of opportunities, possible opportunities later on. At the same time, it's also engaging the child.
Okay.
And the science teacher will use it for germination. Social teacher will talk about soil erosion or how fertile soil is essential. That's when the subject integration happens.
Okay. Interesting. So, okay, let me come back to coding skills. So, this government has asked to start at sixth standard. So, in CBSE, when it is starting, the coding skills?
There is a computer ICT period that needs to be allocated. It doesn't say coding.
Okay. So, this is new?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are the challenges in implementing coding? Because they have to hire more teachers now, or it is being outsourced now?
They can do either which way. The main problem is coding has to kind of become inherent in you.
Okay.
Children who have access to gadgets or laptop, mobile will not do, tab will not do. You need to have a proper system. Parents may not be able to afford a laptop. Majority of the parents. We are elite schools, top 10%, 15%, leave them out.
Okay.
The bottommost, leave them out. The majority, 60-80%, may not be able to afford a laptop for their child to develop that skill. Coding is not something you can go sit in a lab, look at the screen, type something and walk out. It's kind of going in your head, and the minute you get an idea, you want to try it out and practice it and develop it. So challenge is that. And many schools don't even have a computer lab.
Yes.
And even if they do, they have maybe 10, 20 computers and 40 children per class, and children are sharing. So that's not there. But again, not all of them will become coders, or they won't develop a taste for coding. But those who develop, you can leave the lab open for them after school hours.
Okay.
You may have to hire a lab assistant who will just monitor, or you can develop a system. There is Vidya Poshak in Dharwad, if you have heard about them. They left their lab open 24/7, giving full responsibility to the students. I'm leaving all these computers with you, all are working, all are great. If something should go wrong, you instantly let us know, or it is your fault.
Okay.
But children take responsibility, and there could be issues. I'm not saying there is no issues, because children do steal stuff from the smart boards that are set up in schools and stuff like that. Those are there. But there are ways out for someone who's hell-bent upon wanting to implement it.
Okay.
So challenge, again, implementation is when, majority of them may not be able to go through it.
Okay.
Again, getting a professional teacher to teach coding, because you do need,
yes,
a simple ICT teacher will just teach you the Microsoft Word package and maybe a little bit of some tools to move, draw something or whatever. But actual coding may require a professional to be able to do that.
Okay.
That could be a challenge. Again, partner with parents. There are so many people out there who are volunteering, who have time, who have skill, but they are not utilized. And they're willing to probably do it for free also.
Okay.
So source them. That's what I did when I was with school full time, always in cash on parent skills.
Okay.
And they don't expect anything great from you.
Okay. So let's come back to this one. So if this coding is implemented, there will be more jobs for teachers then across India.
Well, not really. The same ICT teacher who is hired right now will become the teacher to code.
Okay.
Because somewhere you have to fit in the number of periods also. You cannot exceed 12 periods a day. We can't do that.
Okay.
Right now we are giving about 2 periods a week.
Okay.
For ICT. For across the school. So in those 2 periods, somewhere the teacher has to motivate the child enough so the child can go home and start doing something.
Okay.
It's very much like vocational skill, carpentry. Can you teach the child 8 hours a day carpentry?
No.
We are not doing that. We are just exposing the child to these possible situations that may interest somebody. Right now, children absolutely have no idea. They may finish their graduation. You hear, right? After PU2, you ask child, what do you want to do? First is medical. If I don't get there, I'll go for engineering. If I don't get that, I'm okay with arts also.
Okay.
Such a varied option. No focused interest.
Okay.
That's because they have not experienced anything. If they're driven by the family is saying, doctors' kids will say, okay, I want to be doctors. Or if the parent is kind of managing the show at home, then they have some ambition, some interest. But if majority of our parents are not in a situation to do that, in those cases children are clueless.
Okay. Let's talk about the shortage of teachers across India and how they're going to fill in, and then how going to train them. That's a big question mark.
It's a big question mark even now. I have been in teacher training for last 15 years now.
Okay.
So it's an ever challenging situation unless there is a paradigm shift. Like this COVID time has given a beautiful opportunity for teachers to also realize it is not just their language skills, it is not just the technical skills, it's also their content, knowledge, pedagogical skills that they were falling short of. So keeping that in mind, hopefully teachers will gear up, because they are making the entrance tests both for government schools and private schools mandatory in the course of time. And to implement, we are struggling a lot even for teachers to understand what is subject integration, what is art integration, because we are used to taking a lesson, deliver it, give question answers, prepare them for exams and be done with it. Now whole thing has to shift, the whole thinking has to shift, and that's a huge challenge. Unless they are talking about making B.Ed an integrated course by 2030. They're talking about certificate courses, they're talking about, there are courses already that NIOS is offering, on online teacher training, teacher development. Lots of teacher development institutes are there. It is definitely a challenge, but definitely there is going to be not much space for anyone who's thinking that teaching is an easy job.
Okay.
That has to change, because right now, even now teachers are working 16-hour days.
Oh.
It's as good as IT right now for a fraction of even their own salary. Forget about IT salary.
Yeah.
Because schools are cutting salaries and all that. But we have to make sure somewhere teachers are given their due position to attract good people.
Okay.
They're talking about it, invest, get foreign universities and set it up and, have it at a global level. All that is there. Implementation challenge exists because private players cannot have their own fee structure and cannot pay teachers. Many schools, even paying 6th pay commission salaries, cannot get good teachers.
Okay.
Because we have messed up the system till now. So all that has to change.
Okay. So with respect to B.Ed program, so any engineer who wanted to become a teacher has to complete this B.Ed also in future?
Teaching degree, yes.
Okay.
Not the B.Ed in entirety.
Okay.
What they have done right now, the entry exit they have changed, right? They have proposed to change. So if you go into college, you do 1 year degree, you get a certificate.
Yeah.
With certain number of courses. 2 years you get a diploma, 3 years you get a BSc, BA, like how we had. There are 4-year courses also, like B Pharma, B Tech, BE and all of that. And in case you finished BE, for example, and then you want to be a teacher. So you do 1 year of that final year, which is research based or practical based year. They have not figured all that yet, but once we get there, they have to do that 1 year, because you may be a great engineer, but you don't know how to handle children.
Yes.
You don't know how children learn. Right? Ultimately, it is about understanding yourself. That's my philosophy. I go with something called as Waldorf curriculum, which is very much grounding the self, grounding the students. All my trainings are based on that.
Okay.
So understand yourself completely first, understand the child first, what needs to be given, you give it in a proper way, and learning just happens.
Okay.
That's true with every other thing other than school. Who taught children to play games?
Okay.
PUBG, who was there a training course on PUBG?
No, self.
No, they learned it. Many of them are hosting their own YouTube channels. Everyone is sort of on there. How did they figure it out? Right? It's aligned with their interests.
Okay.
That is the key word. Engage them in day-to-day activities. That's what teachers need to learn, which requires a paradigm shift. I'm not saying there are no teachers. There are teachers, but in the given pool of teachers, probably 10 to 15% are that.
Okay.
But the system is constraining them. Now if the system eases up, maybe they'll flourish a little bit more, and then the trainings have to be geared up for that. It's not just the degree giving trainings. All of them, even now when I do training, they ask me, are you giving me a certificate? What would you do with a certificate? It's not going to fetch you anything. Talking with confidence is going to fetch you a job or a better job, other than the certificate that says nothing, or you cannot talk about the certificate. But that's how we all have certificates. There are universities that give certificate after certificate after certificate. That's not going to work anymore, in at least 10 years' time. Hopefully, even if you don't implement 100% of this, even if you go with 40, 50, 60%, we'll be in a better off situation.
Okay.
Bottom line is engage the child, engage the teacher, enroll the teacher into this opportunity to bloom, help build a human being.
Okay.
Once they are fit into that groove, then things automatically take care of themselves.
True. My last question.
Yeah.
Kannada government wants to be the first state in the country to implement National Education Policy by hook or crook as early as possible. So one message to our Deputy Chief Minister, if you're watching this video.
Okay. Well, hook or crook is little hard, because this whole change is going to take time.
Okay.
Definitely we can bring about, the first step would be to bring about teachers who understand this and provide that provision for the teachers.
Okay.
We can't do anything. And then empower parents.
Okay.
Because many of the teachers would want to do something right, but parents demand certain things, certain other things. So I tell parents that, the system is going to change, we are going to change, there is not going to be any stressed exams or mark-driven system, and your child, or the way your child is interested and the way your child learns is going to be more important than the marks that they would get.
Okay.
So prepare the child for life rather than for marks or for an exam. So when parents gear up for that, teachers will happily take it up.
Okay.
And then it is easy for me to train teachers to build their energy levels up. Then it becomes easier for the school managements to adopt it as well.
Very true. Yes.
Right? It's like a huge, complex, vicious cycle. So if the government can give parents this belief or this hope that we are going to shift away from mark-driven society and we are not going to look at your certificates and your marks and stuff like that, then they'll stop pressurizing the child. And once that stops, child will be, that the child becomes available to us as teachers, and we start doing some major groundwork and stop giving certificates and stop making certificate. They are telling that in an interview of the teacher will not be just based on the certificate, it will be a demo and an interview and all of that. But that still doesn't guarantee everything. So there are going to be implementation challenges. Yes, please go ahead and begin implementing, but take small steps, master it. Once we have that completely in control, take the next step, add on to it. So it will not burden the teachers, it will not burden the management, it will not burden the parents. It will be taken in a more smoother way, more like organic growth.
Okay.
Rather than just rush through and try to get things going.
Okay. You just heard Ms. Shubha Joshi's thoughts on national education policy. If you have any queries, please do put in the comment section. Ms. Shubha will be very happy to clarify your doubts. And hope Karnataka will be the first state government to implement this national education policy at the earliest. Wishing the Karnataka government all the best. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
Thank you for
viewers.
watching. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.